Welcome back to the second episode. Right, where were we? We just left Lua Plains after having spent 4 fantastic days just soaking up the wilderness. Our next destination is Kafue National Park. We stocked up in Mongu and headed east on the M9. The road between Mongu and the Kafue River varies from good tar to absolutely dreadful, and the 6 to 7 hour journey was quite tiring. We eventually reached the Kafue River, crossed over Hook Bridge, and turned into Roy's Camp. The sites are on the elevated banks of the Kafue River, and you are in Kafue without actually being in the park, if you know what I mean. The M9 splits Kafue into a northern and a southern section. The next day we paid our park fees and entered into the southern portion and made our way down to Mwimbi Bush Camp. Mwimbi is beautifully appointed with 4 luxury tents, and it was empty, so we got the whole place to ourselves. We drove down to Kasabushi to pass on greetings to Andy and his wife Libby, and they proudly showed off their lodge and campsite, which they had built themselves. Kasabushi also has a wonderful campsite, and this is where we'd actually wanted to stay, but they were due to be getting a big tour group in on our last night. After the tour of their little piece of paradise, Andy asked if we wanted to join him and 2 other guests for an evening cruise on the river. This was to be by far the best sunset cruise we had ever experienced. The river is beautiful, and Andy masterfully guided his boat between the rocks. He's an accomplished birder, and we were in for a huge surprise. There are many accomplished birders who've never seen one of these. The African finfoot is a rare, shy and reclusive bird and is listed as vulnerable. The Afrikaans name is watertrapper, as it appears to run along the surface of the water when alarmed. The male generally has a much darker head and neck, and it looks like this could be a female.
If you look at his feet there, you'll see that it's not fully webbed. It's only about a third webbed.
What were we going to see next?
Wow, that is very special.
I've been wanting to see one of these for the last 3 years.
I'm going to open a beer, mate.
The Pel's fishing owl is a shy and elusive bird. It is one of the largest owls in the world at up to 63 centimeters. Although largely nocturnal, it's often active during the day, especially when food is scarce. It feeds mainly on fish of up to 2 kilos in size, but has also been known to take small crocs. This one is a juvenile, the adult having a far more gingery color. The adult call can be heard up to 3 kilometers away. It's listed as vulnerable and is highly sensitive to habitat disruption. What a superb 3 hours. We were on an absolute high, and then on the way back to Mwimbi, we came across a spotted eagle owl in the road. I wonder how many people can say that they got those two lifers in the same afternoon. Puku belonged to the red Unsini tribe of antelope, same as lechwe and waterbuck. After a morning game drive, we stopped off at Parrot Pools for lunch. Andy had suggested it, and the spot was absolutely stunning. The temperature was scorching and our clothes dried in seconds. After a chilled afternoon in camp, we decided on an evening canoe safari where we'd be collected downstream. Surely we'd be sitting back, sipping cold ones and taking photos while a staff member did all the paddling. How wrong we were. Our guide got the timing a bit wrong and we ended up in the dark having to keep slapping paddles on the water to keep the hippos away. On the way back to camp, we came across the big tour group on their way to Kasabushi, only to discover that their support vehicle had just had a fatal accident. The next day on our way out, we came across the accident site, and Andy was there busy cleaning up and collecting all the scattered gear. What a dreadful, tragic mess. The park, which is just under 2.3 million hectares in size, is surrounded by vast tracts of conservation and general management areas. We crossed over the M9 and re-entered the northern section. We were particularly keen to get up to the Basanga Plains. We hadn't booked any accommodation, but the park was practically empty. What no one had warned us about was that you can't buy firewood anywhere. It's just not available. We did find, however, that all the campsites we visited had an ample supply. The Basanga Plains had been a bit disappointing. We hadn't seen much game at all, but it was great out there in the wilderness all by ourselves. We didn't see another car the entire day. The first night we chased a waypoint on the GPS only to discover that there was nothing there. It was starting to get dark, so we backtracked a bit and found a wonderful spot, Bongololo Camp. Northern Kafue is a really remote place. We were in the middle of nowhere. The next morning, after a nice hot shower, you can imagine our surprise when we discovered that the camp actually had a pool, Wi-Fi and a stock bar. We spent a few hours on the deck catching up with messages and looking out over the waterhole. We started becoming aware of the odd tsetse fly, something which I had last experienced in Botswana in the late 70s. Dreadful things. They fly alongside the vehicle, so windows need to be shut. And if you do stop and take a pic through an open window, they descend on you and plunge their long needle of a proboscis into your tender flesh. Swatting them as you would a normal fly is absolutely ineffectual. Jy moet hom hard bliksem. If you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe, and also if you have any questions or comments, we'd be more than happy to try and answer them. We started back and aimed for Mapunga camp, which we had seen on the way in. We spent at least an hour sitting under the awning at this wallowing point, watching this herd of at least 40 elephant relishing the soothing mud. By the way, we found that Zambia has quite a few toll gates, and they all charge the same amount, 20 kwacha. So be sure to have a few of those notes in your bag. Also have your road tax certificate ready, as they attach the receipts to it as you pay. Mapunga camp has lovely grassed campsites on the banks of the Kafue River, with a dedicated ablution for each site. The next morning we left the park and got back onto the M9. We kept driving past vast open tracts of land that was previously forest. The huge trees in the forested countryside are slowly but surely being eradicated and turned into charcoal, which is sold everywhere in huge white plastic bags. The makeshift charcoal ovens were scattered all over the place. And then kilometers of fruit markets, all selling the same thing. At Mumba, we cut across to the Great North Road. This busy highway was a real eye-opener. The unbelievable number of heavy trucks and hot sun had churned up a huge middle maniki on the tar road, which made overtaking quite a challenge. Into Kapiri and Poshi, where we found a good spa and a 50 ppm fuel station. Our overnight spot was Forest Inn, a great secure place with a kitchen, bar and Wi-Fi. The campsites are tucked away in amongst the trees. Tomorrow we head for Kasanka to see the bats, but that's a story for episode 3.